YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Popovy Sisters BJDs, and this video is a request from my friend Cynthia because she is going to be ordering her first Popovy Sisters doll in the next week or so, and so she had some questions for me and asked me if I would please do a video about it, so that's what I'm doing here. What I want to talk about is some care tips for them and, just some general information about them. So first of all, they are made out of polyurethane resin. So the reason that BJD makers choose polyurethane resin is that it is sturdy. They can cast it thin in parts and it's still going to have maintain strength and structure. And you can also cast it fast, so it cures fast in the mold and they can take it out and make another one. But one of the downsides to polyurethane resin, it is affected by sunlight. So they will normally mix in a UV protectant with the resin when they make it, but these dolls can be affected by light. So as a general rule, you don't want to display them near a window or right in direct sunlight for sure. And if you have a window in the room that they're in, you want to have that window closed most of the time. Now that's a good rule of thumb for any resin BJDs. So I do have a window in my doll room, but I have blinds on it and I keep them closed most of the time to prevent so much sunlight from coming through. So that kind of answers that question. Now, another question is, when you handle them, should you handle them with gloves or not? And there's two schools of thoughts on that. You see, I don't have gloves on right now, but there are a lot of people who will only handle them with gloves. So I will start by saying, if you're going to wear gloves, you want to use either cotton or linen gloves. You do not want to use the latex gloves. I don't know if latex itself will have any sort of reaction with the resin, but they have usually powders and things on them and they smell, and you don't want to leave that on your dolls. Personally for me, I don't use gloves because I'm paying a lot of money for a doll. I want to be able to enjoy it. I do try to make sure I have clean hands, so I'll go wash my hands if I'm going to be handling them or changing them or whatever, just so that I don't leave a lot of skin oils. And no matter how much you wash your hands, you're going to leave behind, you've got skin oils on your fingers. But my kind of philosophy on that is these dolls cost, smartphones cost $1,000 a pop, and you don't not touch those. You don't wear gloves when you go driving your car, and your car is an expensive thing. And I buy expensive things to enjoy them, and so I feel like, if I'm gonna have one of these dolls, I want to enjoy it, I want to play with it, I want to put my hands on it, and I don't want to be worried about having to go grab my gloves every time I want to pick them up and change their clothes or do whatever with them. So, as for me, gloves are not something that I personally use with these dolls, but a lot of people do, and so it's really just up to your personal preference. The gloves will help with keeping like I said, your finger oils off the dolls. So it's just, it's personal preference. As I said, my personal preference is not to wear them. So talking about that, let's talk about the painting of the dolls. So in my opinion, this doll, this is Landy, and she is not painted by the sisters. She's painted by Anna Koo. She's a face-up body blushing artist that did the face-up and body blushing for me. And I feel like the dolls' bodies are so beautiful that you would definitely want to have your dolls completely body blushed and face-up. Now, some people will just do the face-ups on a blank doll. I like to have the full package where all the painting is done. But something that happens when you get a full body blushing, this is what you need to be aware of, is that especially if you handle the doll a lot and you change the clothes a lot, when they blush the body, they have to seal it as well. And as you move the joints a lot and you put clothes off and on, that sealant does start to come off. So I'm not sure if you can see it on this doll. For example, on the leg here, there are some shiny spots in the sealant where I have changed her clothes a lot and I've moved her around a lot. And that's just something that's going to happen if you're going to handle your doll. And again, like I said, I bought the doll to enjoy, so I'm not going to sit with her on a shelf and not enjoy her. Now, there are collectors that when they get a doll, they put it on a shelf and they never touch it again. That's not me. That's not my style of collecting. I like to handle my dolls, change them, take them outside, you know, do all kinds of things with them. So that's something that's going to happen. Now I'm going to show you also something with Tawny Owl, because she has a darker resin tone, and on darker resin that sealant coming off shows even more. It's more prominent. And this doll was painted by the sisters, but if you look at, for example, the top of her arm here, you can start to see, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but you can start to see the resin, or not the resin, but the sealant is kind of coming off, and that is from me moving the arms a lot. So I move them in different poses, and so as you do that, and that arm and that body blushing moves around in that joint, that sealant is going to scratch off. So you need to be aware of that. That's not a, what am I trying to say? That's not a flaw, it's just something that's gonna happen. And hers also, you can see it in her, let's see, I wanna say on her knees, you can start to see some of where the sealant's just starting to rub off a little bit as I've moved her around a lot. So it happens, you know, if you play with your dolls, like I do, you are going to have that at the joints. And it's just because, like I said, if the body's blushed, if you've got the full body blushing, then, and you're playing with your doll and you're moving those joints, that stuff is going to wear off. It's normal. That's what happens. So that's something to be aware of. Now, as for the face-ups, both of my ladies here have pristine face-ups. I try not to touch their faces too much. So, you know, the most that I touch their heads and faces is when I'm changing wigs. And again, I try to do that with clean hands. And what I do when I want to change the wig is I will just grab them around the bottom of the head and try not to touch, you know, as much as possible, or try to touch as least as possible. This one's tangled in her earring of the face. Just to not get my face on the actual thing. And here I'm going to grab her by the ears, and I'll carefully pull that off. And so what you do not want to do is you really don't want to touch the face-ups as much as possible, because while they're more durable, because you're not putting clothes over them all the time, and that's not something, you're not moving the facial parts, the noses aren't jointed, right? So you're not moving those around to have different styles, but you do want to be careful with the face-ups, because one little scratch in the face-up can make you like crazy, because I've ruined other face-ups before. So I haven't had any issues with mine. And now each face-up artist also is going to have a different level of durability. Some face-up artists might use 5 or 6 layers of sealant, and so that's going to hold up better than if they only use a base layer of sealant and a top layer of sealant. So I don't know, as far as these two go, which one is actually more durable, because I haven't messed up either one of them. And I've been kind of, you know, I've tried to be careful with these dolls, but that is something that can vary by the artist. But also, if you're just careful and you just try not to touch the faces too much, you shouldn't have a problem with it. Now, if you drop them, that's another story, because I have ruined a couple of face-ups in my life by dropping the dolls when trying to take pictures. I'll stand them up and they fall over. So you just want to be careful with that. Another question is about the stringing. How does the stringing hold up? The stringing seems fine to me. I've actually, you know, of all the BJDs I've bought, I've never, not a new BJD, I've never had to restring one yet. And the stringing seems pretty tight and smooth. And this is my older doll, and her wig fell off. Now that I've taken it off, it's just gonna keep falling off the whole time. She still moves nice and smoothly and tightly, and Tawny Owl is the same. I don't feel really much difference in the tension of their stringing. I don't know of anybody that's had to restring a Popovy doll. It can be done, of course. I mean, all of these dolls are just, I mean, they're just put together with, you know, the hooks and stringing. But I don't think that that's something that you know, as the owner of a doll that you would have to worry about for a very long time. You know, I have vinyl dolls in my collection that were strung 25 years ago that don't need restringing yet. So I think they probably use really high quality materials to string the dolls. So that's not something that you're gonna have to worry about as far as the stringing and the elastic getting worn out. Another question was about posability. So all of the different body types pose a little differently. Of course, I have body 3, but when I go to pose mine, you've kind of seen me doing it some. You know, the legs will fold pretty much all the way back with this body because that double jointed knee is really nice. And you can see, I'm gonna turn the knee up. It kind of has like this flat, I don't know, flat bottom to it. So there's lots of different, you know, you can pose with their legs to the side. You can pose, you know, one leg out. You can pose them kneeling. There's a lot of different poses that you can achieve with these dolls. What you can't do, and which I do with a lot of my dolls, is they're not gonna stand completely flat-footed with these ballet feet. Now I don't have heeled feet to show you, but this is as far forward as those ballet feet are gonna go. So they're still at an angle, and because of that, you're never gonna get them to stand on their own. So when you have them, you either want to have a stand, number 1. Number 2, have a piece of furniture for them. So there's a lot of people that make really beautiful chairs and things like that you can set them on. Or number 3, just resign yourself to the fact that you're gonna have to display your doll seated like this. And there's a lot of different seated positions you can do, but the doll's just not gonna stand up on her own as far as that goes. So those are kind of my opinions and takes on the dolls and on how they hold up over time. And of course I haven't had these all that long, a year and a half and a year, but if you're gonna be owning a Popovy doll for the first time, that's just kind of some of my tips. Now you have to decide what kind of collector you're gonna be. Are you gonna be a collector that puts your doll on the shelf and never touches it? Or you're gonna wear gloves every time you touch your doll? Again, like I said, I don't wear gloves when I drive my car. My car costs a whole lot more than these dolls did. I don't wear gloves when I use my smartphone. My smartphone costs, you know, as much as one of these dolls did. So you just have to make that decision for yourself, you know. Do you want to do that or not? For me, I don't want to do it. It doesn't interest me, and it kind of takes the fun out of playing with the dolls for me because I'm a doll lover. I also love the artistry behind the dolls, but first and foremost, I like the dolls and the playability of the dolls. So for me, I want to be hands-on. I want to be changing all the time and playing, you know, in the way that I do as an adult with my dolls. So that's my take on it. And again, that's my opinion, and you know, everybody just has to decide for themselves what's right for them and what's right for their collection. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I will leave a link to Cynthia's channel below so that when she gets her new doll, you guys can check out her unboxing of her doll. And thank you very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.